This is my land, bought and paid for long before your rules existed.
You're trespassing on HOA land, Harper.
The acrid stench of gasoline yanked me from sleep just before dawn. My front gate was ablaze, flames twisting like a living thing, clawing at the wrought iron. This wasn't some teenage prank. It was deliberate, a declaration of war. When I checked the security footage, the figure dousing my gate wasn't a stranger. It was Margaret Hensley, the self-appointed dictator of the Willow Creek Homeowners Association. The same woman who'd pushed my grandson and vowed to run us out of town. She thought she could break me with chains, lies, and fire. She didn't know I held the keys to the land she claimed as her kingdom. The morning had started like any other at my cabin by Willow Creek, a quiet stretch of water nestled in the rolling hills of Tennessee. The lake shimmered under a sky caught between calm and storm, its surface a mirror of silver and shadow. I sat on the porch swing I'd built decades ago, the wood worn smooth by years of use, a mug of black coffee warming my hands. The air carried the crisp bite of cedar and damp earth, a reminder of why I'd chosen this place long before the HOA staked its claim. My grandson, Tommy, 10 years old with a mop of unruly brown hair, knelt by the porch steps, dragging a stick through the dirt, pretending it was a boat on some grand adventure. His laughter was the kind that could make you forget the world's sharp edges. Out here, life felt simple, grounded in the rhythm of the creek, the rustle of leaves, the hum of a world untouched by petty rules and power plays. This cabin, built with my own sweat and scars, stood on land I'd owned since before Margaret's HOA was even a whisper. But peace is a fragile thing. It cracks like glass under pressure. As I sipped my coffee, a low hum broke the quiet, growing into the growl of tires on gravel. Tommy didn't notice, lost in his game, but my gut tightened. Instinct, honed by years of living close to the land, told me trouble was coming. I set my mug down as a sleek gray SUV roared into view, kicking up dust and stones. It screeched to a halt at my gate, its polished chrome glinting like a predator's teeth. Out stepped Margaret Hensley, her auburn hair teased into a helmet of hairspray, sunglasses perched like a crown. 2 lackeys in HOA vests followed, clutching clipboards as if they were court orders. She didn't acknowledge Tommy, didn't even glance my way. She planted her heels in my driveway and barked, "John Harper, you're in violation of Willow Creek HOA regulations. Vacate this property immediately." I stepped off the porch, boots crunching gravel, my voice steady but cold. "Violation? This is my land, Margaret. Built this place with my own hands before your HOA had a letterhead." Her lips curled, a smirk that screamed she'd already won. "Not anymore, John. The board voted. Your property's under our jurisdiction now. Comply, or face consequences." My jaw tightened. I closed the gap between us, her perfume clashing with the clean air. "You don't make laws here, Margaret. You don't even make sense." Her eyes narrowed, venomous. "Defy us, and you'll regret it. I've already called the sheriff." I let a hard smile flicker. "Call the governor while you're at it. When those deputies get here, they'll learn something you didn't bother to check." Her smirk wavered. "And what's that?" I leaned in, voice low. "This land's mine, Margaret. Every damn inch." A siren wailed in the distance, and the battle lines were drawn. The deputies left an hour later, their faces sheepish after confirming my deeds. The land, the cabin, the creek, they were mine, free and clear. Margaret stormed off, her SUV spitting gravel, but her eyes burned with a promise of retribution. I knew her kind. She wouldn't stop. People like her don't retreat, they reload. For a few days, the creek stayed quiet, but it was the kind of silence that hums with tension, like the air before a thunderstorm. Then the harassment began. Notes in my mailbox, printed on cheap paper, remove non-compliant structures or face penalties. Drones buzzed over my property, their cameras glinting like vultures' eyes. HOA volunteers lingered near my fence, their fake smiles masking their intent. I didn't react. I cataloged every move, photos, timestamps, drone paths stored in a folder under my desk. Then came the 4th of July weekend. My daughter, Emily, and her husband, Mark, came up with Tommy and his little brother, Lucas. We grilled burgers by the creek, the smell of charcoal and summer weaving through the air. Tommy and Lucas fished off the dock, their laughter a fleeting shield against the world. For a moment, I thought we'd reclaimed our peace. Until the next morning. A sharp clank of metal woke me. I stepped onto the porch and saw her Margaret, in her crisp HOA vest, chaining my gate shut. A padlock gleamed in her hand like a badge of victory. Margaret, I growled, voice slicing through the morning chill. What the hell are you doing? She turned, her smile syrupy and sharp. Good morning, John. Per HOA Ordinance 17C, your property's restricted until you comply. I stepped closer, fists clenched. There's no Ordinance 17C, and this isn't your land. She rolled her eyes, dismissive. That's when Tommy stepped forward, clutching his toy boat, his voice small but defiant. Why are you locking my grandpa's gate? Margaret's smile vanished. In a flash, she snatched the boat and shoved him. Hard. Tommy hit the gravel, his lips splitting, blood streaking his chin. Time stopped. My vision tunneled, rage boiling in my veins. Margaret sneered, tossing the toy aside. Maybe that'll teach him manners. I didn't shout. I didn't need to. My body moved on instinct, grabbing the crowbar from the porch rail. 3 steps down, gravel crunching like bones under my boots. Her eyes widened as I swung, not at her, but at her clipboard, shattering it into splinters. I drove the crowbar into her bolt cutters next, twisting until they snapped. I planted the steel in the ground between us, my voice low and lethal. You touched my blood, Margaret. You think a lock makes you untouchable? Touch my family again, and I'll bury your little empire so deep the creek won't find it. She stumbled back, her heels catching in the dirt, fear cracking her perfect facade. I scooped Tommy up, his small frame trembling against my chest. You're safe now, I whispered. No one's hurting you again. Margaret stood frozen, but I saw the venom in her eyes. This wasn't over. Not yet. 2 days later, a knock rattled my door. A man in a black suit stood there, badge gleaming. Mr. Harper, Agent Daniels, Environmental Protection Division. Reports of illegal stream diversion on your property. I laughed, sharp and bitter. Stream diversion? This is Willow Creek, son. Nearest wetlands 20 miles east, dry as dust half the year. He didn't flinch. We need to inspect. Behind him, Margaret's SUV idled down the road, her silhouette smug and waiting. I let them in, voice like ice. Look all you want. I'm recording every step. They found no thing, no pipes, no violations, just dirt and roots. Daniels left, muttering about false complaints. I leaned close. When you write that report, spell her name right. Margaret Hensley, HOA tyrant. My blood was fire now. She'd weaponized federal agencies, thinking red tape could break me. She was wrong. I pulled out my war chest deeds, surveys, tax records going back decades. Then I made calls. To my lawyer, Claire, dig into every HOA permit. Find the cracks. To the county commissioner, Tom, revoke their road easement. Today, his voice shook. John, what's going on? I stared at the creek, Tommy's blood still vivid in my mind. I'm done playing nice. The war escalated. A week later, another knock. A man in a Navy suit, badge flashing. Agent Carter, IRS. We need to review your financials. Margaret's SUV lurked down the road again, her shadow watching. I dropped a fireproof box on the table, heavy with every receipt, deed, and filing since '95. You want records? I'll bury you in them. Carter combed through for hours while Tommy sat in the corner, his bruised lip a constant reminder. Finally, Carter stood, a flicker of respect in his eyes. Everything's clean. One escrow note from '03 needs follow-up. I slid a notarized sale record across the table. State bought that timber easement. Anything else? He shook his head, almost impressed. Whoever filed this won't want their name tied to it. I followed him to the door, voice low. Next time she tries to burn me with paperwork, tell her to bring matches. Margaret's SUV peeled out as Carter left, her face pale in the sunlight. She'd thrown the IRS at me and missed. But I wasn't waiting for her next move. I called Claire. Prepare the big guns. It's time to end this. The town hall was a powder keg, packed with neighbors, shop owners, even the mayor under harsh fluorescent lights. Margaret sat in the front row, her suit pristine, clutching a leather binder like a shield. I walked in, boots echoing like gunfire, and dropped a 100-page evidence packet onto the podium with a thud that silenced the room. Good evening, I said, voice calm but sharp. I'm John Harper, and this, I tapped the packet, is every lie, every forged vote, every illegal move this HOA has made under Margaret Hensley. The crowd stirred. Margaret leapt up, voice shrill. This is slander. He has no authority. I slammed a mineral rights deed onto the podium, the mic screeching. Authority? I own the mineral rights under Willow Creek, Margaret. Every house, every driveway, every blade of grass needs my signature. The room erupted. Neighbors turned, eyes boring into her. Claire stepped up, holding photos of an unpermitted HOA drainage pipe. This violates county and state law, she said, voice cutting like a blade. Tom, the commissioner, stood next, waving a stamped order. HOA authority is suspended, effective now. No votes, no fines, no power. The crowd roared, some angry, some relieved. Old Mrs. Callahan stood, trembling. She threatened to fine me over my birdhouse. By the time the fifth resident spoke, Margaret's empire was dust. She lunged toward me, shrieking, "You think you've won?" I leaned in, eyes locked. No, Margaret. This is just the start of your fall. I walked out, the deed in my hand like a loaded gun, the crowd's voices a storm behind me. At 3:47 a.m., a bang jolted me awake. My gate was a wall of fire, flames licking the iron like a beast. Gasoline stung my nose, sharp and vicious. I grabbed the extinguisher, foam hissing as I doused the blaze. When the smoke cleared, I found a shattered gas can and fresh boot prints. Margaret. I pulled a USB from my safe, plugged it into my laptop. Security cam set up by Tommy for fun caught it all. Her SUV, her HOA vest, her pouring fuel, and striking a match. I called Sheriff Hayes. She torched my gate. I've got video. 20 minutes later, fire trucks and deputies swarmed my driveway. Hayes held the USB, face grim. This is a felony, John. Arson. I nodded, staring into the dark. She wants to burn me out. Let her try. The wind carried the stench of gasoline, as I vowed she'd never touch my world again. Dawn broke over the creek, the air sharp and cold. I stepped onto the porch with coffee, thinking the fight was done. Then I saw him, a man on my dock, cap low, gun in hand. Mist curled around him like a warning. My pulse hammered, but my voice stayed steady. Morning. Care to explain the gun? He turned, voice flat. You Harper? I nodded. Who's asking? He stepped closer. Friend of a friend says you're trouble. Need a lesson? My lips twitched. Margaret sent you? Silence answered. My hand eased toward the firewood stack, where a silent alarm was hidden. Armed on my land's a felony, I said, buying time. His gun rose, aiming at my chest. I slammed the alarm button. A click. Signal sent. Shoot if you're gonna, I growled. But my cams caught your face, your plate, everything. Gravel crunched. Squad cars roared in, deputies shouting, "Drop it!" The gun hit the dock, his wrists cuffed in seconds. Hayes approached, USB in hand. Margaret's done. Arson, conspiracy, now this. I looked at the creek, its calm surface untouched by her chaos. She forgot Hayes. I own this ground. The sirens faded, and the war was over. Weeks later, I stood on my porch, the creek silver and still. Margaret's HOA was gone, her title stripped, her power broken. Court filings and evidence had buried her. She faced charges: arson, conspiracy, even attempted murder. The town was free, and my cabin was mine again. This fight wasn't about rage or revenge. It was about standing firm, about truth outlasting lies. Margaret thought control made her invincible. She forgot what matters: respect, integrity, the quiet strength of knowing your ground. I didn't burn her world down with fire or fists. I did it with facts, patience, and a line I wouldn't let her cross. What would you do if someone tried to take your home, your peace, your family? Would you fight back with fists or with truth? Would you stand your ground or walk away? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear where you stand on facing injustice and violence in your life. If this story hit you hard, type "I stand my ground" below. Hit like if it made your heart race, and subscribe for more stories of real battles and hard-won victories. Stay strong, because no one can burn down the life you've built.